The Calgary Flames came into this Western Conference quarterfinal with Vancouver as the overwhelming favorite. But the series is even. The only favorite now, Gary Roberts, a favorite target of Vancouver. Good morning to Newfoundland. Good evening from the West Coast as we are coast to coast tonight on Molson Hockey Night in Canada for what has become a best 3 out of 5 Western Conference quarterfinal series from the Pacific Coliseum tonight. The Vancouver Canucks and the Calgary Flames. In the first 2 games of this series, we have seen a lot of scoring, a lot of hitting, and a lot of cheap shots too. It was the Vancouver Canucks who were well in control in game 1, winning 5-0. Then in game number 2, Calgary took it 7-5 with mission accomplished. A couple of missions on that night. They had to get their power play going. They did. They were 4 for 10. They also scored 1 shorthanded goal. They also had to get in front of Vancouver netminder Kirk McLean. They did that. Al McInnes with a couple that he never saw, although his shots are tough to see anyway. And Gary Roberts went to the net all night long. Unfortunately for him, he bumped into Kirk McLean on 4 occasions. That left Kerry Fraser, the referee that night, little choice but to nab Gary Roberts all 4 times. Tonight, Andy Van Hellemond is the referee. And here is one Calgary player's perception on what we should expect tonight from Andy.
I think you have to be careful, but I think that kind of call is very questionable and may not be called by another referee. Tonight we have Andy, and I think Andy has done a great job in a lot of the games that we've had over the course of the year, so I think the penalty total will be down a little bit tonight.
What about the physical nature tonight? Do you expect it to continue the way it has been?
Well, I think it's even going to pick up. It's been a little bit chippy at times and physical, but I think both teams would like to tighten up a little bit defensively, but I don't think that'll take anything away from the physical play.
Well, I think one thing that has been the same is it's been called pretty equal, so we haven't got a lot to complain about, and I don't think Calgary has either. So I guess if it stays equal, you can't do much about it.
How about you guys coming home? An advantage?
Yeah, definitely. I think we're excited about playing at home. You know, we feel great about going out in front of our home fans and playing, and we hope that seventh man does the job tonight, as I'm sure it will.
And as you can likely hear with the Vancouver Canucks being introduced behind me, this building, the Pacific Coliseum, has become one of the louder buildings the past couple of years. And like Winnipeg, there is a tradition of white. They call it white hot here. You'll remember white with the Vancouver Canucks because Roger Nielsen in this indelible image back in 1982 waving the white flag. The Vancouver Canucks, they rode the wave all the way to the Stanley Cup final before finally being ousted by the New York Islanders. That was then, this is now, but it is still white hot. It should be a loud crowd here. They're already into this one in the pregame ceremony, and right in the middle of all of it are Jim Poplinski and Don Whitten.
Thank you, Ken. Hi, everybody. And Vancouver hockey fans, Jim, are hoping that Tau Power can do the same thing this year as it did in 1982. Jim, for the past 48 hours, much of the conversation has revolved around the different styles of the 2 referees. Paul Stewart from Game 1, Kerry Fraser Game 2. What can they expect tonight from Andy Van Hellemond?
Well, we've seen 2 different extremes with Stewart and with Fraser. Tonight, you can be sure that Andy Van Hellemond will set a tone early. The players are the guys that have to adjust to this. Van Hellemond will call it close, and then probably let off a little bit. The key will be the team that goes to the penalty box when they get a penalty. They don't worry about anything else, and don't get Van Hellemond mad at you.
Well, one guy who got mad at the official the other night is Gary Roberts of the Calgary Flames. 4 trips to the penalty box for interfering twice with goaltender Kirk McLean, and 2 for charging the Vancouver netminder.
Well, depending on who you're cheering for, you might agree with those calls or disagree, but the key is to understand what the referee's going to call. It's clear in the rule book that if you don't try to get out of the way, you're going to be in the penalty box. I'll bet one thing, though, that Gary Roberts tests Van Hellemond very early tonight. We'll see what happens.
For the first time in franchise history, the Vancouver Canucks this year had a better record on the road than at home. Their power play also struggled at home. Can we see a carryover of this, do you think, into this playoff game tonight?
Well, I think you're going to see a lot of emotion. And with a crowd like this, if you're Vancouver, you have to be sure that you don't spend everything in the first few minutes of the game. It's important that Vancouver continues to play a disciplined style of game, get back to the style that they played in Game 1 at the Saddledome. If they do that with the confidence that they have and the crowd behind them, it's going to get more and more difficult for Calgary to take wins out of this building.
The lifeline has been scoring for Vancouver, but their leading marksman during the year, Pavel Bure, has not. He has been shadowed by Mike Sullivan. Has it been the effective job of Sullivan or Bure's inability to shake the check?
Well, I think it's been a little bit of both. Sullivan and Zalapsky have been on Bure when he's been on the ice. That has made Bure not have a lot of open ice, but I think Bure has got to find a way to fight through this. If he doesn't start to put some numbers on the scoreboard, it puts more and more pressure on his team and reduces the chances of Vancouver ousting the favorite Calgary Flames.
Well, Sullivan, who has been shadowing Bure, feels that one of the problems he does have at times is that Bure plays so high in the defensive zone, and as a result, there's a difference in his approach in covering Bure.
Yeah, he does, and I think that's just his way of trying to get loose and get some freedom out there. So it's, you know, I'm trying to feel my way out there. It's not something that I've been used to in the past. So, you know, obviously I'm trying to stay involved as much offensively as I can so I can help our team out there. But, you know, at the same time, you always have to be aware when he's on the ice because he does pose such a threat out there.
And Jim, it's interesting what a victory on the road can do. They only had sold about 12,500 tickets for this game until the 5-0 win by Vancouver in Calgary Monday night.
Well, and I think just as importantly, not only to sell the building out, but to give Vancouver more confidence. If Calgary would have won the game 1 the way Vancouver won it, I think this would have been a short series. Now you're looking at the toss of a coin. The longer the series goes, the better opportunity the Vancouver Canucks have to oust the Calgary Flames.
Well, the last time they met was 1989, and you're not a very popular figure in this building because you set up the winning goal in overtime.
Gosh, I'm just enjoying the game, and I'm getting all kinds of heat. I think they're shooting at me.
That wasn't a shot, that was a fireworks display, and the fireworks obviously are going off behind us as the Vancouver Canuck players have been introduced. You don't have to duck, Jim, it's okay.
Watch my back, Doc.
Now let's go down to ice level, and here's Ken Daniels.
All right, Don, as the Calgary Flames now take the ice, the fireworks going on behind me. First goal is very important in all these series. Of the 20 games played so far, the team that has scored first has won 18. Let's check out other action tonight. 2 other games on the board, including Dallas at St. Louis, where the Stars are 0-5-1 their last 6, but lead this best of 7 by 2 games to none. Brett Hull trying to get his team untracked, and they do strike first. 5:29 into the game. Brendan Shanahan off a fine draw from Craig Janney will give St. Louis the lead. 1-0 after 1. The Blues outshot Dallas 14-8 in that first. But second period, Stars power play ties it. Trent Platt deflects it home. It's 1-1. Then the Blues shorthanded take the lead. Brendan Shanahan to Kevin Miller, 2-1 St. Louis. But the Stars come back to tie it on a Blues miscue. Shane Churla roofs it. It's 2-2. Then Dallas will take the lead. Eklund to Mike Modano, and it's 3-2 for Dallas. And that's where these two teams sit right now. Dallas leading St. Louis 3-2, lead the series 2 games to none. One other game tonight besides the one we have here at San Jose. Steve Yzerman is a scratch. Chris Osgood and Artur Zerbe, the goaltenders, that getting underway. Same time as ours. We'll keep you up to date on that game throughout tonight. Now, fireworks went off here, and that's not good news for Gary Roberts. Here's Don Whitman to explain.
Ken, one of the problems that Gary Roberts has is asthma. And in any building where fireworks displays have gone off prior to the start of the game, Roberts encounters breathing difficulties.
Well, Gary Roberts has had this situation happen in a couple of other rinks. It's happened twice, in fact, at the Saddledome, and the Flames now know that they do not have fireworks that give off any type of ash or smoke that we see in the building. You'll notice tonight in all likelihood that he will be using his Ventolin quite a bit on the bench because it really starts to cut down on his breathing.
Pavel Bure has struggled in this series. He has 1 assist. As a matter of fact, Bure doesn't have a great record in his last 9 playoff games. The final game against Winnipeg last year and the 6 subsequent games against the Los Angeles Kings and the 2 this year, Pavel Bure has just 1 goal. This is a man who was on a tear at the end of the year. He finished the season with a league-leading 60 goals, but hasn't had the scoring opportunities the Vancouver Canucks require from him to be successful in the postseason.
Well, in the last couple of weeks or month of the season, I think Bure was hanging a little bit higher than he usually would, looking to continue the tremendous goal-scoring spree that he was on. And sometimes you get a little bit lazy when you do that. Calgary, to defend against that, has had Zalapski out high, and that has cut off a lot of his passes. And Sullivan as well has watched him. And when Sullivan attacks and gets in deep, the puck doesn't get back to Bure near as much.
Pat Quinn had a comment about the shadow job of Sullivan on Bure. He said Bure can either resign himself to being covered or he can be resilient. And he's hoping that Pavel Bure will be the latter tonight.
Well, as we discussed, Don, you won't see Bure getting shadowed a lot when he's back in his hometown. That happens a lot more in North American hockey, and it will in all likelihood take a little bit of time for Bure to start to react to that and be competitive and productive in this type of situation.
We talked about the problems that Gary Roberts has with the smoke from the fireworks display. He did not come out for the skate when the teams came on the ice following the explosion of those fireworks. He's going to remain, I'm sure, in the dressing room until the smoke has cleared as much as possible, and then he'll come on the ice. And now for the singing of our national anthem, let's join Richard Loney. With the noise during the national anthem, you almost get the feeling you're in Chicago Stadium. The fans in Vancouver are pumped for this third game of the Western Conference quarterfinal. Mike Vernon, who had a 2.81 goals against average during the regular season, has given up 10 goals in the first two games of this playoff series. And even though he only faced Vancouver once during the regular season, he is making his third straight playoff start against the Canucks and Kirk McLean. McLean posted his third postseason shutout with his 5-0 win on Monday night. And I'm sure tonight he hopes he doesn't see as much of Gary Roberts in the crease, and Andy Van Hellemond is the referee responsible with enforcing the zero tolerance rule that the NHL has for the postseason.
Well, let's keep an eye and see what the first couple of penalties are like, and then over a period or two determine if Van Hellemond lets off a little bit.
Gary Roberts has just now arrived at the Calgary bench. He stayed in the dressing room, as I mentioned, as long as possible to let some of the smoke clear inside the Pacific Coliseum.
You see the horse collar around Roberts' neck. He started wearing that the last game. A more common piece of equipment for a football player that has their neck bashing from side to side or backwards and forwards. And Dave King is the guy that wants Roberts to continue to play whatever way he has to be effective, as long as he stays within the rules.
King was also saying that in trying to shadow Pavel Bure when Pat Quinn is the last change, he'll probably have to send Mike Sullivan out most times on the fly. Backhand shot by T-Top. Saved by McLean. Here's an opportunity now for Bure, racing down the right side. He's cut off by Zalapski. In the corner, T-Top starts away with Cruz. Bure gets back, Bure checks Titov as he comes in across the line. The loose puck picked up by Titov. Looking for Reichel, but it was beyond his reach. And starting back for Vancouver is Brown with Craven. Brown throws it to the net, and the arm of referee Andy Van Hellemond goes up. A penalty call coming up against the Vancouver Canucks. So the first power play of the game will go to the Calgary Flames. 1 minute and 1 second into the opening period of Game 3.
Well, Don, just as we discussed, Van Hellemond calling a penalty that is a penalty, but ordinarily it might get let go. Brown, I think it was, got his stick up a little bit high and will go to the penalty box for high sticking. Here's a look here as Brown puts the stick up on Zalapsky, catches him in the chin and in the face. Andy Van Hellemond was right there. He made the call immediately. Now, the other point that we made is when you do take the penalty, don't discuss it, get to the penalty box. Brown having a little conversation. Let's see if Calgary does the same thing. Bure was jumping down the ice. He puts the body on Zalapsky here, who has watched him and is a very, very strong skater. Bure goes down. Now he hits Zalapsky again, and shortly thereafter did a great job in coming back on Titov. Strong back checking by Bure. When the rest of his teammates see the guy that scores 60 doing that, it gives them a lift.
Calgary scored 4 power play goals in Game 2 after being shut out in Game 1. Into the slot. Reichel's shot is blocked before it gets to the net. And Tim Hunter clears to center ice. Al McInnes with a club record 5 points in Game 2 drives it in. Lume will try and get it out, and it got beyond McInnes, who is attempting to pinch in from the point.
Well, Tim Hunter served notice to Al McInnes that he'd take the body right there. McInnes went in and decided to let the puck go, and it went out.
As the Flames bring it in at the blue line, it's an offside call against Calgary.
Well, let's take a look at who's not in the lineup. The Calgary Flames will sit with the exact same lineup as they did 48 hours ago. No injuries to report. Dahlquist, Petit, Kesmer, and Michael Nylander did a little bit of extra skating this morning. The Canucks scratches. Jimmy Carson has played the first couple of games. He's out this evening. Plavsic, Charbonneau, Slager, Lafayette, and former Calgary Flame, Minnesota North Star, Ottawa Senator, Edmonton Oiler, Brian Glynn did a little extra work this morning, and he's not in the lineup either.
With Carson out and Sean Antoski, Gino Ojic, and Tim Hunter in the lineup, is this an indication that perhaps Pat Quinn is expecting a continuation of the physical battle we saw in Calgary?
Well, when you have this many penalties, your fourth line is not near as significant with heavyweights, and if you want to get that significance, perhaps there's an opportunity to do it.
Zalapsky's shot and the rebound fired through the legs of McLean by Joe Nieuwendyk. Fleury to Zalapsky, who mishandles at the point. Courtnall and Linden are out in a penalty killing role for Vancouver. 45 seconds remaining in the call against Brown. Titov tried to feed Reichel. The pass was behind him. Banked off the boards by Diduck, and it was a delayed offside call against Calgary.
Well, you start to get into a series and you think back into games during the series and when it's over and think of other things that you might have done a little bit better. The Calgary Flames had a great opportunity at the start of this series with a penalty 12 seconds into it to capitalize on the power play. They have the same chance here, and they haven't had but 2 shots. Van Hellemond has talked to the Vancouver bench a couple of times now. Whitmore was discussing something with him as he skated by. Talk to the referee as little as possible. Nieuwendyk right on top of McLean. Put the puck past McLean, but he didn't set it up between the 24 square feet of net that he had.
I'm sure Andy Van Hellemond has heard and read everything that went on in Game 2 and all the penalty calls that were made.
I think you might be surprised how little a referee would worry about that. Van Hellemond has been in the league so long, a little bit like a veteran player. You know that it's more important to do what you do best as opposed to what has taken place in the past. He would have had a little bit of a briefing from David Newell, the supervisor that's following this series. Outside of that, he's confident that he'll do the job.
Kissio is checked. The puck goes to Patrick. Patrick puts it in deep. Roberts for Titov. Roberts in the corner, looking to the point. There was some traffic in front of the net. Now Roberts feeds it into Titov. Kissio was knocked down in front of the net. Brown comes out of the penalty box, and he races after the loose puck with Bure. Jumping up on the play, over to Bure, and it bounces over his stick. chance for Vancouver on a 2-on-1, and a bad bounce as the puck skipped away from Pavel Bure coming in with Jeff Brown on Mike Vernon. Yanni is knocked down. Momesso is spun around. Puck loose in front of the Calgary net. Some solid bumping along the boards as Craven takes a hit from Roberts. Detov gets to center ice. He's bumped by Lume. Craven on the left side for Merzen. The big defenseman goes in deep against Patrick. Then he's bumped by Yanni, but he manages to stay on his feet. The puck comes free. Picked off now by Kissio for Roberts. A long shot. That's wide of the net. The Flames making a change. Al McInnes played the first 2 minutes and 28 seconds of the hockey game. That was a long opening shift for Al McInnes. He's back out on the ice. Here's Brown with a blast. It's blocked. McCarthy comes in. McCarthy centers it, and Stern couldn't convert. Walls is spun around. Some good bumping early in the hockey game. And then Antoski is hit by Stern. Stern went down. McIntyre comes back for Vancouver. He slips it ahead to Ojek. Ojek having problems trying to get away from McInnes. 15:20 remaining in a still scoreless opening period. Game 3 of this Western quarterfinal series, tied at a game apiece. Trevor Linden, a star in the first 2 games in Calgary. A goal in each game. Dave Babbage bursting through, a weak backhander, and the save is made, and there's a penalty coming up against the Calgary Flames.
Molson Hockey Night in Canada on CBC is brought to you by Molson Canadian. Take your best shot in the Molson Canadian Score a Million Stanley Cup contest. By Ford of Canada, where quality is job one. And by Pepsi. Be young, have fun, drink Pepsi.
Kevin Dahl gets a pair for holding Big Dave Babbage. Babbage kept his legs moving, drove to the net. Dahl went to the box as a result.
Bure is the lone man back in the point as Linden takes the face-off and will try and get it back to him. Brown has moved up to the top of the circle. Puck is loose in front of the net, and Fleury now will move up to the blue line before relieving the pressure as he dumps it down the ice.
Well, Vancouver's power play has been kicking along here, 20% in this series. They're 3 for 15 so far.
Brown fires it in. Ronning goes to the corner after it. He initially was looking back to the point, but it was picked off by Fleury and cleared again.
Well, the last shift before the penalty, great momentum created by the line of McIntyre, Ojek, and Antoski. These guys were skating pretty well and really taking the Calgary bodies.
Courtnall is bumped along the boards by Musil. Sullivan unable to clear. Good job by Linden keeping it onside. Puck loose in the corner, and this time Al McInnes will be able to clear. The Vancouver Canucks have had difficulties in setting up in the Calgary zone.
Well, it's always important to get the puck out of your end when you're killing a penalty. It's even more important when you've got a crowd like is here at the PNE tonight. You don't want to create any more noise than they're already giving the home team.
Out front for Linden, a weak shot. The puck loose in front of the net. Big Joe Lotto comes in across the line for Fleury. He shoots. Puck is blocked before it gets to Kirk McLean, and now Murray Craven skates out to center ice with 30 seconds remaining in the penalty. Lume with a shot. It's blocked before it gets to the net. Lume back to Babbage. Babbage will let it go, and it doesn't get to Vernon either. The Flames have done a pretty good job of blocking those point shots before they get to the net. Now they're trying to get it out of the zone, and it's put over the glass and out of play by Zarley Zalapski.
Well, Trevor Linden was on pace for 48 goals around Christmas time. He ended up with about 61 points, and there was some doubt as to whether he would be able to turn things around. Didn't have a great finish the last 2 weeks of the season, but I'll tell you what, although he hasn't scored a bunch of goals, you see him fighting with McGinnis in front of the net for position. He has been absolutely outstanding in the first 2 games of this series. Joel Otto bumping with McLean as Courtnall takes the body on him. Van Helmond had a brief conversation with the 2 of them as the play went down the ice. Burry lost his stick in this play, and he still managed to get to the bench and back into his end to do his defensive duties.
5 seconds remaining in the penalty to Dahl. 13:06 is the time remaining in the first period. Fleury wins the draw. Zalapski will bang it around the glass and out to center ice as Dahl comes out of the penalty box. And Toski was knocked down by Roberts. Zalapski moves it ahead to Nieuwendyk. Roberts trailing on the play. Zalapski tried to feed it into the slot area, and he's decked by Antoski. And the 2 do some pushing and shoving as they get back up and try to get into the play. A delayed offside call against Vancouver with 12:39 remaining in the first. A postcard type of view from the Pacific Coliseum as we get underway again in the opening period with 12:39 remaining. Calgary Flames did not lose on the coast in their 3 visits here this year. McCarthy fires it to the corner. Nieuwendyk bumps with Merzen. Puck comes up along the boards to Memesso. He flips it back to Lume. Lume dumps it towards the net. Dahl tied up his man. McIntyre, who was attempting to go for the front of the net. Dahl pinching in from the point. He's bumped there by Memesso. Roberts can't center it, and we have an injured Calgary player behind the play. Sandy McCarthy went down, but is able to get back up and get into the play, and then he steps into Merzen. McCarthy was very slow in getting up and getting back into the play, and then he collides with Tim Hunter inside the Calgary blue line. Lead pass too far for Hunter. Vernon misplayed it back of the net. Hunter attempting to free it. He was fighting there with James Patrick, and now Zalapski from the other side. Starts out slowly for Cruz. Cruz gives it to Titov. Titov working in against Hedekin. Hedekin takes him in against the boards. The 2 go down. The puck is loose back of the net. A wraparound attempt. Titov trying to jam it in. Musso comes flying in as well. Puck is kicked off to the corner. 4 players battling for it there, and finally they succeed in holding it for a face-off, but a close call on a wraparound attempt by the Calgary Flames. With a Stanley Cup update, here's Ken Daniels.
All right, Don, the first of 3 straight games to be played at the San Jose Arena, and it's the Detroit Red Wings who get the lead on the San Jose Sharks on their first shot on goal. Sheldon Kennedy leaves it in front, and Darren McCarty will put it home to give Detroit a 1-0 lead over the Sharks. Chris Osgood in goal for the Red Wings. Steve Yzerman is not playing tonight.
Well, Calgary has taken the brunt of the body checks. Hedekin takes Titov out. Otto got rubbed out, and Toski with some big checks. Ojek as well, as Titov tries to cram the puck into a space that is not there. Just a huge war taking place over the last couple of shifts. Gino Ojek got 2 minutes for cross-checking Paul Cruz. I don't know how Andy Van Helmond saw it. I didn't think that any of the officials saw it. Ojek put a pretty stiff cross-check to the back of Cruz as Otto and Tim Hunter were getting set to go at it in the corner. Here's a look at what took place. Our eye in the sky captures sometimes a little bit more than we can see.
So Ojek goes to the penalty box with 10:50 remaining in the first period. Nieuwendyk was having some problem with his skate and at the same time was having a discussion with referee Andy Van Hellemond. Only one shot on the first Calgary power play. Calgary power play has scored on 4 of 19 opportunities in the series.
Now, if you look at the goals that have been scored in this series so far, Don, Calgary has not scored a 5-on-5 goal. Even strength, Calgary's got 2. They've both been 4-on-4. Vancouver's had a half a dozen. 5 5-on-5 goals and 1 4-on-4. Calgary has got the edge in power plays 4-3. Both teams have a shorthanded goal. But I think the telling statistic is 5-on-5. And in my view, if you're strong 5-on-5, in the long haul, you win games. And Vancouver has clearly dominated Calgary in that particular statistic.
In game 1, of course, being shut out 5-0, Calgary did not score a power play goal. They were 1 for 5 in game 2 and then scored on their next 3 power play opportunities. Dave Babbage with a lead pass for Linden, going in alone. He fired it wide. He gets another chance for Courtnall. He was checked. Back comes Reichel. And as he tried to drive it in off the glass, he put it up into the crowd out of play. But a glorious opportunity shorthanded for Trevor Linden. And he missed on the backhand.
Boy, Linden with great wheels and Babbage with pinpoint passing. Look at this pass right on the tape. Try and take a pass on your backhand going full bore like that. Mike Vernon, I'm not sure whether he got a piece of it, but he managed to at least come back to the side where Linden was shooting. A perfect move by Linden. He wanted to get that puck up and it slid off his stick. Another look. Babbage waits till he gets the blue line through the skates and on the back of the stick. He's got nothing else to pass it to but the stick he sees through the hole between Nieuwendyk's legs.
Dave Babbage, the veteran rearguard, has been having a fine playoff series for the Canucks. They're very happy with his performance through the first 2 games. Fleury goes in deep. He's checked by Babbage. Babbage tries to get it out. Zalapski cuts it off. Nieuwendyk is positioned in front of the net. McInnes has to go to the corner for Reichel. Reichel flips it to the other side to Fleury. Again, Nieuwendyk is in front of the net, but the shot is blocked from Zalapski at the point. Zalapski in front, and he couldn't convert Reichel's centering pass. Fleury has it now, back to the line to McInnes. There's the shot right on the rebound. Reichel, a backhand shot wide. Zalapski at the point. He's checked and the puck is knocked out to center ice by Babbage with 38 seconds remaining in the Ojic penalty. Here's Reichel winding up, and McLean squeezes it between his pads.
Now McInnes got a chance for a big shot on the power play. Vancouver wants to protect Kirk McLean by being closer to this gentleman. McInnes, lots of room and moves in. This is what Vancouver doesn't want to allow. Courtnall starts to go out to him, but you've got to cheat a little bit towards McInnes and not give him that chance. Calgary and Vancouver, big penalty numbers. Look at San Jose. Detroit is just above them. 14 power play opportunities in the first game, 19 in the second game, and with a couple of guys thrown out, you get 20 minutes for that. That distorts these numbers. This so far has been a tougher game than either of the first 2.
33 seconds remaining in the Ojic penalty. Patrick is at the point to Roberts. Kissio behind the net, spun around by Lume, and Tim Hunter flips it the length of the ice. 9:09 remaining in the opening period. No score in this third game. Wes Walz works his way to the corner, shoots, saved by Kirk McLean. The Canucks having some problems clearing. Yanni lets the shot go wide. The rebound. And a good save by McLean off Kissio. Ojic is out of the penalty box. Ojic slips it on the right side to Hunter, and Hunter, who is out in the penalty killing role, dumps it in and then goes to the bench. Ojic runs into Patrick back of the net. Roberts now for Fleury. Bure is after him. Craven in the corner, bumped by Fleury. Craven tried to center. It was intercepted, and this will be an icing call against Calgary as Hedeken goes back to touch it. 8:18 2:18 is the time remaining in a still scoreless opening period. In our view from the Pacific Coliseum, Lions Gate Bridge, 8:18 remaining in the opening period inside the Pacific Coliseum. As we look down on the ice from our camera up high in the rafters, the face-off to the right of Mike Vernon following the icing call. The Flames have outshot the Canucks by a 9-4 margin, but the best scoring opportunity of the hockey game belonged to Trevor Linden, shorthanded. Greg Adams, who missed game 2 after stopping a shot from teammate Pavel Bure in game 1, is watching Zalapsky behind the net, forcing Zalapsky to throw it up along the boards, and Brown retreats into his own zone after it. Stern was trying to go after him. Brown is able to throw it rink wide to Adams. Adams to Craven. It's a two-line pass. With 7:54 remaining in the first period, with another update, here's Ken Daniels.
All right, Don, and at San Jose Arena, the Wings go up 2-0. It's Coffey to Fedorov, who slides one into the slot, and from a pretty bad angle, Dino Ciccarelli will find the top corner. That puts Detroit up in front of San Jose by a score of 2-0. The Sharks having trouble in their first ever home playoff game, and with 6 minutes left at St. Louis, it's still the Stars leading the Blues 3-2.
And remember, in that series between Detroit and San Jose, 3 games are being played in San Jose. Game 4 in that series will take place tomorrow night. And then should more games be required, the next 2 will be back in Detroit. Stern trying to get away from Brown in the corner. Reichel comes in to help out. Stern fighting behind the net with Brown. Sullivan is there. So is Hedeken. Hedeken trying to clear, and he does. Zalapsky got back just in time ahead of Bure. Now Reichel races after a loose puck. And a penalty call has been made against the Vancouver Canucks. Pavel Bure goes to the penalty box.
Penalty by impeding the progress of Robert Reichel in game 2. Jumped up ice and was back a fair piece and got in the way of Zalapsky. Van Helmond called an interference penalty, and Bure receives 2 minutes. This will be Calgary's 3rd power play opportunity of the first period.
Al McInnes will drive it in, and now Yanni races in after it. He leaves it for Fleury. Fleury directs it towards the net. It was blocked before it got to McLean, and the Canucks are successful in clearing. Two goals and 3 assists for Al McInnes in game 2. A fade to Nieuwendyk. His shoot in is blocked by Babbage. McInnes tries again to set something up. McInnes having problems with McIntyre. Couldn't escape his checking. Now Reichel is spun around as he comes to the line, and the Canucks clear.
Vancouver being very, very physical at every opportunity, particularly the big guys, giving some of the smaller guys a little bit more courage than they might otherwise have. When they've got a chance to take a flame hard, they're doing it.
And that's what Linden does as he bumps Zalapsky in the corner. Now Roberts gets to the line, leaves it there for Titov. Linden stepped into Roberts, and the fans like that one.
Well, this means you have to have great conditioning to play a game at this level over the first 14 minutes of the first period. The question is whether Calgary can continue to sustain the hammering that Vancouver's dishing out right now. And secondly, if Vancouver can continue to take the body to Calgary the way they have.
Penalty call against the Calgary Flames as Courtnall was elbowed, and Al McInnes will head to the penalty box. With another update, here's Ken Daniels.
Don, at the arena in St. Louis, where the Dallas Stars haven't won in their past 6 with 6:13 to play. St. Louis ties up the game. Craig Janney on the wraparound stop once by Wakaluk, but a great second effort, and falling down, he gets it in, and it's all tied up 3-3 now with less than 6 minutes to play at the arena in St. Louis.
Al McInnes gets 120 seconds for elbowing. Courtnall went to hit him, and I suspect that McInnes had a choice to make: either protect yourself and take a penalty, or not protect yourself and go down. Courtnall had a pretty good bead on him, McInnes got the elbow up. Courtnall took the worst part of the head, but McInnes finds himself in the penalty box. A little bit more 4-on-4 action. It'll be 32 seconds until Bure comes out of the penalty box.
Joe Nieuwendyk moves out along with Titoff in the penalty-killing role for the Flames. In 32 seconds, the Vancouver Canucks will have a man advantage. In game 2, both teams scored a goal 4-on-4 in the opening period. Yanni knocked off the puck. Lume looking for Craven, and Craven was tied up in front of the net by Patrick. 5 seconds and power play for Vancouver, except there's another penalty call, and it will be a 2-man advantage with Trent Yanni going to the box.
Well, Murray Craven took a couple of penalties in game 2. I watched the game again this afternoon, and I still am looking for the reason that the calls were called. Yanni gets a bit of a soft one here on Craven, and perhaps that's a little something for Craven, having kept this cool after he took 2 that didn't really warrant calls in game number 2. But Gary Roberts involved in 5 confrontations with McLean the last game. 4 of them drew penalties. The reason they drew penalties is because of Rule 47. If you look, it talks about a goalkeeper not being fair game, and a penalty for interference or charging should be called in every case where an opposing player makes unnecessary contact. Unnecessary is the key, and it's up to the referee to decide that. Roberts disagreed. Fraser did not.
5-on-3. The shot blocked. Courtnall couldn't get the rebound. 1:17 in the 2-man advantage. Bure back at the point. Over to Brown. Brown to Bure. Bure fakes. Linden had problems controlling it. Ronning back to the net for Linden. Linden being bothered there by Joel Otto. Frees it for Courtnall. Back to Bure. Traffic in front of the net. Now Brown in the high slot for Linden. Linden again had problems handling it. Back to Brown at the point, and the puck was on edge and bounced off his stick. Bure for Linden. Linden looks to the front of the net. Checked there by Musil as he tried to center. Now it's Bure. Bure couldn't shoot. Over to Brown. Brown can't shoot. Bure lets it go. They bang away, and finally they knock it in, but I'm not sure. I think the whistle may have gone.
Well, Courtnall hit Frank Musil right on the button after the puck went in the net. Now Ronning had an opportunity at the side of the net, and Vernon somehow got his glove on it. Van Helmond is waving off what looked like a goal, and I would guess it's because the whistle had blown.
Ronning positioned at the side of the net, had his shot blocked by Vernon, and referee Andy Van Helmond immediately waved things off, claiming the whistle had gone.
Well, Don, I was all ready to listen to you say he scores. I thought Ronning had the same type of goal as he patiently waited for in game 1 from the same spot. Watch right here, Ronning goes right to the top, and Vernon very alertly gets the glove up now. It looked like he had frozen the puck. Perhaps a bit of a quick whistle here, as Ronning is right there, and Vernon didn't have his glove there. The beauty of that save is he reached for it. Great reaction time on the second save, something Vernon is great at. He got a break because he couldn't corral the puck, and as it dropped back, I think it was Linden whacked it in the net, but the whistle had gone.
Brown with a shot. Linden the rebound. And another save by Vernon. Linden attempting to center. Courtnall into the corner for Ronning. Ronning back to Bure. Bure over to Brown. He moves in. Back to Bure. The shot. The save by Vernon. contacted with a high stick, and the face-off will come back into the Vancouver zone. Tremendous pressure by the Canucks and some acrobatic goaltending by Mike Vernon to keep this game scoreless.
You know, Don, at the start of this series, we talked about Calgary versus Vancouver and the fact that Calgary is dominant in pretty much every area. You can disagree on degree of dominance, but clearly over this past season, Calgary has been a better team in all of the areas. What Vancouver had to do was find an edge if they wanted to be competitive, and they have found that in a lot of ways. One of the things that I've noticed is they've been absolutely outstanding at coming back after Calgary has had good pressure or scored a goal or made a big hit. Vancouver doesn't rest on that and take it. They find a way to come back. Here's an example with a 4-on-3. They've been all over Calgary for the last 40 seconds.
5 seconds remaining in the McInnes penalty as Bure leads the rush. Craven to Jelena. He's centered as McInnes comes out of the penalty box. Adams has it. Adams looks to Brown at the point. Back to Adams, to Brown. To Adams, he lets a shot go. It's blocked by Musil. Musil couldn't clear, but Fleury can. Sullivan stays with Bure. The puck goes to the corner, and Bure will try and come out the other side, then puts on the brakes to escape post-checking of Sullivan. And now the Calgary Flames are back at full strength.
When you have a rocket, Don, it's reverse thrust. It's not brakes.
Good point, Jim. Andy Van Hellemond is making another penalty call, this one against Vancouver with 3:08 remaining in the first. Bure draws his second minor penalty of the period, a high sticking call at 16:52. This was the pressure, 5-on-3 Vancouver. They scored, but the whistle had gone, and listen carefully.
One little chirp and then a few budgies thereafter. You had to have sharp ears, and as difficult as it was for Don and I to stop talking to give you an opportunity to hear that, clearly Andy Van Hellemond had blown the whistle after Vernon made the first save. A little quick, but the whistle had been blown.
The Calgary Flames in game one bemoaned the fact that they were unable to score with a two-man advantage in the opening period. Vancouver had similar problems in the opening period in game two. And the Vancouver Canucks had a two-man advantage tonight in this opening period. Now the Calgary Flames are on the power play. McInnes gets his own shoot in. McInnes winds up and McLean saves it. Zalapski feeds McInnes back to Zalapski. He fakes into West Walls. Roberts is in front of the net. There's the shot. Knocked down by Dana Merzen. He and Roberts were battling in front of the goal. A neat bit of work by John McIntyre to deflect the puck with his glove out of the zone.
Obviously, McIntyre, an old volleyball player, just tipped that one out over the net that Zalapski had at the blue line.
55 seconds remaining in the penalty to Bure. 2 minutes remaining in the opening period. No score. Game 3 of this Western Conference quarterfinal series. Game 4 goes Sunday afternoon. Here's Fleury with a head of steam and a high shot. The stick of Didick up into the crowd. With another Stanley Cup playoff update, Ken Daniels.
Well, Don, a furious few minutes at the arena in St. Louis. It was the Blues and Stars all tied up, but here Dave Gagne gets the go-ahead goal after a Tony Herkus giveaway. 4-3 for Dallas, but with 28.6 seconds left, the Stars can't clear, and former Duck Alexei Kasatonov brings the roof off of the arena in St. Louis. They're tied at 4, heading into overtime.
But Trevor Linden starting off his third game in first period exactly the same way he finished game 1 and game 2. Very, very strong. And even if he hadn't been putting the goals in that he has over the first couple of games, his contribution would have been noted. Great play, great skating, taking the body hard, and eventually that sort of play results in points, goals, and wins.
Zalapski fanned on his shot, and Courtnall starts away with Linden. Linden has scored a goal in each of the first 2 games. He's ridden out of the play by McInnes. Zalapski nudges it ahead for Titov. Titov was spun around. Bartnell takes his time, and then he clears. 17 seconds remaining in the Bure penalty.
Well, you can see since game one, the Calgary Flames have tried to do a little bit more crisscrossing on the ice. They've tried to attack with more depth, and they've had their defense jumping in a lot more than they did in the original game of this series. As a result, Vancouver hasn't been able to be quite as physical on defense as they were in the opening contest of this series.
Bure back on the ice trying to check Patrick, and then Patrick was able to dodge a check from Jelena. We're in the final minute as Hedeken lays it up on the left side for Jelena to Brown. Brown takes his time as he works to center for Craven. His dump in, picked up by Patrick. Jelena had been driving in after it. The clearing attempt hits Van Hellemond, and the shot by Craven goes wide. Lume plays it back of the net. Jelena fighting off a check, circling in front. Jelena gets set, he shoots. Traffic in front of the net. Craven was knocked down. Craven looked back to referee Van Hellemond, but his arm was not up. There was no penalty call. 15 seconds remaining in the opening period. Memesso goes after the puck. He tried to center it, went back of the net. Memesso was tied up by Musso. Roberts for Dahl. Dahl attempted to center for Kissio, and it comes out front to Cruz just as the horn sounds.
Boy, a great opening period. Vancouver more physical than Calgary, really pouring the pressure on the Flames. The Flames are happy with this period because they're not behind, and we've got a period that I thought we were going to get right from the start. Let's see if Vancouver can keep up this intensity for another period and then another one after that, and how are the Flames going to counter it.
The Flames with a 10-8 edge in shots on goal, but no scoring in the opening period. Ken Daniels will now tell us what we've got coming up in our first intermission.
And joining me in the studio, Don, a man who's been traded for the likes of Darryl Sittler and Kevin Dineen in his career. The Vancouver Canucks' Murray Craven will be along, and as well, we'll bring you up to date on what has been a wild game tonight at the arena in St. Louis between the Stars and Blues. We'll also check in on the Wings and Sharks. Our score after 20 minutes, the Vancouver Canucks nothing, the Calgary Flames nothing. Joining us between our first and second periods, the Vancouver Canucks' Murray Craven, who was supposed to join us last game but didn't quite make it. What happened?
I hit my head on the boards and knocked myself a little goofy for a little while, so I'm probably not that good at interview anyway, so I didn't want to come on with all my wits.
No, I think you're one of the class guys in the league, and just about anyone would tell you that. And you had a terrific second half, too. You had 28 points in your final 29 games, and I guess that goes hand in hand with playing with a guy like Pavel Bure. They finally found the right mix.
When you have a guy that's scoring at a goal a game clip for the last 50 games of the year, just about, when you're out there with him, you're bound to get a few points. And, you know, it took a little while for me to get used to playing with Pavel, but in the second half of the season, I think that he really turned up his game and brought me right along with him.
And I think when you say it's tough maybe to play with Pavel, because in the defensive zone, he plays so high, does it put more work on you?
You know, that's basically the assignment you have to have when you're with him. He's going to carry most of the offensive load, and your job is the defensive part of the game. And he's going to hang up high and try to get loose in that center ice zone and, you know, get a few breakaways like he can. And you have to just get that puck out to him. Anything near him, he'll catch or he'll outrace someone for it.
Now on to this series, this game, another hard-hitting affair. Dave King always says that it's more hard-hitting in this building between your two teams than it is in Calgary. Do you find that?
I think that the games that seem to have been always so much tighter. I think that's what's lent it to the fact that maybe it is a little more hitting here. The games have always seemed to be a 4-2 or a 4-3 or very close hockey games, and that first period was kind of what we've been used to playing all year against them.
The line matching tough? Does it disrupt things for you?
I think it's Pavel's having a little bit of a tough time out there. They're checking him pretty closely, but you know, hopefully we'll get some more. He just needs one goal. He gets that one goal and he's going to take off.
And I have to ask you one final thing. Apparently you wear a pair of very old blue running shoes with the name Mark on one and Howe on the other. What's the story behind those?
Oh, I had those since I played with Mark in Philadelphia, and I had them for years, probably 5 or 6 years. I think he got them when he played for the Houston Aeros. They're that old, so I got him to sign them one time when he was with Detroit, and I was with Hartford at the time, so I've had him ever since, and you know, I just like to try to fill his shoes.
You're doing a fine job so far. Congratulations, Murray. Best of luck the rest of the way.
Thank you.
The Vancouver Canucks, Murray Craven, and still to come during our first period intermission, we'll bring you a complete playoff update, all the action from the Stars and the Blues, along with the Wings and Sharks. We're scoreless after 1 in Vancouver. Welcome back to the Pacific Coliseum in Vancouver, and after 20 minutes of play, the Vancouver Canucks and the Calgary Flames are scoreless. Out of town tonight, there are two other games, both taking place in the Western Conference. It's the Red Wings taking on the San Jose Sharks in San Jose. Meantime, the Dallas Stars have a 2-0 series lead heading into St. Louis, where it's been nothing but trouble for the Dallas Stars of late. In fact, the Stars are 0-5-1 in their last 6 games at the arena in St. Louis. Brett Hull trying to get his team on track, knowing they don't want to go down by 3-0. So 5:29 into the game, a key faceoff by Craig Janney wins it back to Brendan Shanahan. No chance for Darcy Wakaluk. 1-0 for St. Louis after 1. In the second, though, Trent Klatt deflects a Richard Matvechuk shot. It's 1-1. Then the Blues shorthanded take the lead. Brendan Shanahan to Kevin Miller, 2-1 St. Louis. But the Stars come back to tie it. A Blues miscue here, and Shane Churla puts one up high. It's a 2-all tie. Then Dallas takes the lead. Eklund to Mike Modano, who's been hot these playoffs. 3-2 Stars after 2. With 6:13 to play, Craig Janney on the wraparound. Can't go, but a good second effort, falling on his knees. Ties up the game at 3. Then with about 4 minutes left, though, back come the Stars. Watch as Tony Herkus fails, leaving the zone. Dave Gagner capitalizes. The Stars take the lead 4-3. But the Blues have Joseph on the bench, and with 28.6 seconds left, former Duck Alexei Kasatonov will tie it up with a quick shot. That'll beat Wakaluk to the glove side, so the Blues and the Stars are all tied up at 4 apiece. Again, Dallas with a 2-0 lead in this series as they are heading into overtime. Elsewhere tonight at San Jose, where they're playing the first of 3 straight at the arena with the series all tied up at 1. Chris Osgood, Artur Zerbe, the goaltenders. Steve Yzerman is scratched tonight for the Detroit Red Wings, and the Wings get on the board first. Their first shot on goal. Sheldon Kennedy carries in, drops it back into the slot. 1:53 into the game. Darren McCarty gives Detroit a 1-0 lead. And the Wings have a second goal, that from Dino Ciccarelli, his second of the playoffs. It's 2-0 for Detroit after 20 minutes of play. And our score here after 20 minutes at the Pacific Coliseum, the Vancouver Canucks 0 and the Calgary Flames 0.
It's one of sport's ultimate achievements, having a place with the elite. The new Hockey Hall of Fame honors almost 300 of the game's greatest contributors. Throughout the postseason, we present many of them on hockey's Great Wall. It's brought to you by Ford of Canada, a proud founding sponsor of the Hockey Hall of Fame and makers of the 1995 WinStar. Tonight, Detroit fans called him Fats. Alex Delvecchio next. His nickname, Fats, came not from his weight, but from his friendly round face that made an impression on fans throughout the league. Delvecchio joined the Detroit Red Wings in the early 1950s and played on 3 Stanley Cup teams in Motown during the decade. Alex was prolific. He finished with 1,281 points, was 3 times winner of the Lady Byng. Durable and consistent, Delvecchio's just one of the hockey greats we feature on hockey's Great Wall. Alex Delvecchio, presented by Ford of Canada, makers of the 1995 WinStar and a proud founding sponsor of the new Hockey Hall of Fame and Museum.
Hockey Night in Canada on CBC was brought to you in part by Ford of Canada, where quality is job one.
Welcome back to the Pacific Coliseum in Vancouver. Game 3 of the series between the Flames and the Canucks, all even at a game apiece, and we're still waiting for the first goal of the hockey game. The Canucks thought they had scored it on a power play, but the whistle had gone before the puck was knocked into the net. The Flames out shooting the Canucks by a margin of 10-8. And Mike Vernon came up with some spectacular saves in the opening 20 minutes.
Just a huge save here. Watch as Vernon moves his glove. Doesn't have Ronning shoot the puck right into it, but physically has to lift his arm. Great reaction time. That's something that Dave King says Vernon is one of the best at, the second save. Most goalies at this level can stop 95% of shots that they can see. But when there's a rebound and how a goalie reacts to that second and third save, that's what distinguishes a champion from a guy that can play in the National Hockey League. And there is a very, very fine line. Mike Vernon exhibited that difference with the save on Cliff Ronning.
In the second and third periods of the first 2 games, the Vancouver Canucks have outscored the Flames by 6-2 in the second period, 3-1 in the third period. The only period in which Calgary had the edge was game 2, where they outscored Vancouver by a 4-1 margin. Hedican's shot is blocked. Kissio had to put on the brakes at the line and dump it to the corner, and back after it goes Brown. Ahead to Linden. Linden winds, and the shot is right on as Vernon leaves it there for Patrick. Patrick having some problems with running, trying to get away. Courtnall steals. Courtnall threw it across in front. Nobody there. Shot from the point by Brown goes wide. Hedican will fire it in, and if Zalapsky gets there, which he does, it's an icing call against the Vancouver Canucks.
Well, it's kind of neat when you look at one year to the next. The Smythe division turned into this Pacific division. Calgary stayed with 97 points from year to year. The big changes, San Jose and Los Angeles. Vancouver off by 16 points as well. The neat thing about this is the Calgary Flames were in first place from October 30. Vancouver stayed in exactly the same second place standing over that same stretch of time. No movement at all from first to second in the Pacific division.
Last year, when Vancouver led the division, the Canucks won 46 games, a franchise record. This year they had 41 victories, just one less than Calgary. But the Vancouver Canucks had the fewest ties of any team in the league. They only battled to a draw 3 times during the 84-game regular season.
Well, Kirk McLean had 13 losses, I believe, by 1 goal. I had a number of the Canucks tell me throughout the regular season that they had to find a way to win those games as opposed to lose them.
Adams was tied up by Dahl as he attempted to drive for the net. Adams will try again. This time he's bumped by Fleury and goes down. Adams persists, goes after it, leaves it there for Ojic. Dahl beat him to the puck in the corner. Babbage trying to keep it in at the line, and he managed to do it, but Reichel came back to pick up the puck for the Calgary Flames. Now Roberts is bumped by Babbage. He moved it ahead to Bure, couldn't go anywhere. Babbage again ties up Roberts. 18:15 remaining in the second period. No score in the hockey game. This is the 5th time these two teams have met in postseason play. Sullivan cuts off the clearing attempt. His shot deflects to the corner. Nieuwendyk looks for someone to give it to. Tried to go back to the point. Patrick kept it in, then had it taken away by Adams. Adams lets a high shot go off the glass behind Vernon. Stern's pass is cut off by Lume. Lume can't do anything with it. And the penalty is coming up as Vernon makes a huge save on Murray Craven. Penalty call against Calgary with 17:36 remaining in the second.
Roberts here, he hits Babbage. Babbage is so strong you don't budge him. That's why so few people try to hit him. Mike Vernon with a huge save here off Murray Craven. A bit of a mishandle in front of the net by Zalapsky. And then Sullivan puts the leg out on Bure. And when you do that, you get 2 for interference. That's exactly what happened. Bure feels a little bit better now because he's had 2 of those types of penalties called against him.
Sullivan has been on the ice against Bure in a shadowing job on 6 of the 7 shifts that Bure has been out for Vancouver. I mentioned this is the 5th time that these two teams have met in the postseason. And in Game 3, Vancouver has a record of 3 wins and 1 loss. So statistically, the numbers would favor the Vancouver Canucks, but the Calgary Flames had the better record in meetings between the two teams during the regular season, winning 4, losing 2, and tying 1. Musil dumps it to the corner. Again, Vancouver is having all sorts of difficulty trying to set up. Fleury was in forechecking, but Bure got the puck past him. Bure lets the shot go on the feed from Courtnall, and Vernon just got his glove on it.
Well, the Flames goaltending coach Glenn Hall had a few chats with Mike Vernon, and he told him that he wasn't doing anything wrong, just to keep the confidence. Boy, has he played well tonight.
Ronning lets the shot go, and Vernon's got that one with Linden screening in front of the Calgary backstop.
Well, if we run through some of the fast facts in the first period, face-offs very, very close. Calgary with a slight edge, not enough to slip a hair between. Ice times of McGinnis close to 8 minutes. Bure at almost 9. Roberts at 10. Lume 7.5 minutes. Now Vernon felt that he's only had 2 bad goals out of the 10 that have been scored on him. He hasn't had the opportunity to make a lot of saves like this, but tonight he's had a half a dozen, and he has been flawless so far.
There were people who wondered if Dave King might make a goaltending change after the 5-0 Vancouver win in Game 1, and he said, not when you look at the record of Mike Vernon during his career in the postseason.
Well, with the exception of Reese starting last year when Vernon was injured, he had started almost 50 consecutive games. Reggie Lemelin, I think back in '85, was the last guy to play in a Flames uniform.
Babbage feeds it into Bure. Bure goes back to the line at the side of the net for Craven. To Babbage, traffic in front of the net, and the puck is deflected up high off the glass. That's one thing the Vancouver Canucks have been attempting to do, is put a lot of traffic in front of goaltender Mike Vernon and prevent him from seeing those shots from the point.
Well, Dave Babbage took a little bit of heat off of this puck. Now Theoren Fleury makes a dangerous calculated play here. He put his stick on the ice and deflected it up over. If he is wrong on the angle that he has between his blade and the ice, he might deflect that one right into net. He was correct on that decision. It went over the glass and earned a face-off to the left of Vernon.
23 seconds remaining in the penalty to Sullivan of Calgary. Otto and Craven are in the face-off circle. And Craven is going to be waved out with Jelena coming in. Otto wins the draw for Patrick, and Patrick will clear. Titoff watches Babbage. Now Otto moves in to watch the big defenseman. He plays it ahead to Bure. Bure couldn't slip it through to Craven. And Sullivan comes out of the penalty box. Calgary has killed off another Vancouver power play. At the side of the net, the puck comes loose out front, and Titoff simply clears. Jelena had been taken off the puck by Joel Otto. Lume gets to the line, tried to wind up, now thinks the better of it, dumps it to the corner for Jelena. It got beyond him, another penalty coming up. The time remaining in a still scoreless second period. Well, even though their power play struggled at home, the Flames don't want to give the Canucks too many chances. They get called for too many men in the ice. You saw Andy Van Hellemond counting, and there are 6 red jerseys in the end of the ice as Van Hellemond counts them out and says, you can't do that, boys.
That is a tough penalty to ever argue, Don, particularly when your 6 guys are still on the ice and the referee can line them up and count them again if he has to.
Wes Walz will serve the penalty. Horton checked along the boards by Musil. It goes free to Ronning in the corner. Bure went for the net, but Ronning couldn't get it to him. Now Brown has it. Brown for Linden. Linden mishandled it. Portnoy did a good job of protecting the puck. He turned his body to it. Now Brown with a long shot, and Vernon has that one. I think Linden may have got caught a little by surprise. He wasn't anticipating the pass as he moved into the slot. He was going to the net, thinking that perhaps there would be a shot from the point.
Well, that pass has to be right on the mark and timed perfectly as well. Linden was in the middle of the ice, but with the puck bouncing, it's tough to get a handle on it. You know that you're going to have the Flame forward converging on you very, very quickly. And as the puck bounced, Linden couldn't get a grip on it.
Calgary has yet to register a shot In the second period, Vancouver has managed 5. The Canucks have had the benefit of a power play. This is their second. Fleury has lost his stick. Brown moves it over to Linden. Linden back to Brown. Brown fakes. Linden one-times it wide. And Joel Otto will get a chance to clear, although it hit the linesman Collins. Back comes Linden. Ronning went for the net. He was covered. Murray at the point. Fakes to Linden. Brown sneaks in behind the play. Went for the net. A centering pass. Brown has to take it back to the top of the circle. Brown fakes. Ronning lets the shot go, and Vernon has that one.
Well, Vancouver with a great opportunity, not only with the power play, but Fleury without a stick. Cliff Ronning has been a real pepper pot for the Vancouver Canucks so far. Scored a huge goal in the first game. Great presence, great scorer. And he's sneaking up on some all-time Vancouver playoff scoring records. Fleury without his stick, and you feel like a fish out of water when you get trying to block shots. I don't know what it is about not having a stick in your hand, but as a player, boy, you really feel naked. Fleury didn't have an opportunity to go to the bench until Vernon made that last save. As a penalty killer, if you can move the puck around and you have those great skills, you can toy with the guy without the stick. Vancouver did a little bit of that. Perhaps they wish they might have done a little bit more.
Fleury, in preparing his stick for tonight's game, was putting some stickum on the tape on the blade of the stick.
Well, with a lot of the metal and composite sticks now, Don, you have to glue the butt of the heel that goes into the shaft. Fleury was using that glue to give his stick a little more stick-to-tiveness.
Brown for Lume. Murray goes back to the line. Brown will take the pass back to Lume. Brown fakes. Lume winds, and Vernon comes up with another big one. And a penalty has been called here as a hit is put on Gary Roberts in the corner. And Roberts is down.
Well, Burry's on his way to the box. Trainer Bearcat Murray is out tending to Roberts. Now remember, Roberts has the collar that you see back behind his neck. And a lot of the time when he gets hit, the initial stun or the pain that he feels will be simply because of the injury that he sustained in game 1. Dave King looks like he's got a little bit of fire in his eyes, and he is calling for 5 minutes. Not too tough to lip read that. When a trainer comes out on the ice, more often than not, he asks you questions like, what day is it? Where are we? Where do we play next? And as silly as that might sound, if you get your bell rung hard enough like this, as Burry gets Roberts from behind, pretty good. You get your bell rung and you lose consciousness for a split second, concussions can happen and serious injuries. Gary Roberts straight into the boards. Burry gets a pretty good body check on the Flame forward.
Jim, you talked about the fire in the eyes of Coach Dave King. He was yelling at referee Andy Van Hellemond that this was a major penalty. He didn't influence Andy, but the referee also saw it that way, and Pavel Bure is gone for 5 minutes. A major penalty for boarding.
Well, fortunately for the Vancouver Canucks, Van Hellemond did not decide to give Bure an automatic game misconduct. He can, if there's an injury to the face or the head, or the referee decides within his discretion that there was any attempt to injure. Bure looking to take the body hard on Roberts. Van Hellemond, clearly in the replay as well, realizes that the check was from behind. And now the Flames with a huge opportunity. Bure in the box for 5, 36 seconds remaining on the penalty to the Flames for too many men on the ice.
Bure very involved in this game statistically, but the numbers that the Vancouver fans would like to see: goals and assists, not penalty minutes for their star forward. T-top steals. He's checked from behind. Ronning wheels away from a check. He comes away with Brown. Brown went driving for the net. Ronning lost control of the puck. And now as he tries to flip it to the corner, it's picked off and dumped down the ice. The fans react as set in the neutral zone, but there was no penalty call. Long lead pass goes off Brown into Calgary territory. And now the Calgary Flames on the power play. Reichel back to McInnes. McInnes shoots high off the glass. Zalapski kept it in. Didick trying to clear. He's checked. Roberts has the puck. Roberts might not be public enemy number 1 in Vancouver, but he's among the top 2. Reichel lets his shot go. It's blocked, and it's fired the length of the ice. Hennigan did a good job of preventing the puck from getting to the net.
Well, I know everyone's familiar with the rules, but don't forget, if a goal is scored, the major penalty does not come out of the box. Vancouver has got a huge incentive here to continue with this kill.
3:27 remaining in the major. Overtime has ended in St. Louis. With the details, here's Ken Daniels.
All right, Don, and it's the Stars' first win in their 7 trips to St. Louis in overtime on the power play. 8:34 into the extra frame. The puck will come back to ex-St. Louis Blue, Paul Cavallini, who rifles one home past Curtis Joseph as the Stars win 5-4, and they lead the series now 3-0. There is no way Joseph saw this one. A star in his goal crease, and Rick Zombo screening him. The Stars win it 5-4, take a 3-0 series lead.
Don, if you looked at overall plus-minus as we go through the scores for Dallas and St. Louis has the worst even strength plus-minus of any team that made the playoffs. Dallas is among the top half of teams in the National Hockey League. When you put those two combinations together in a tight checking series, you get Dallas up by 3 and St. Louis without a victory.
St. Louis Blues with so much offensive potential with the addition of Nedved and Stasny just before the trade deadline. Linden couldn't handle this entering pass from Lume. 3:07 remaining in the 5-minute major. Here comes Kissio. Neuendijk fired it wide. McInnes has it at the line. Over to Zalapski. It bounced away from him. And the Flames will have to try and set up again. Zalapski fires it back to the net. Neuendijk lets it go for Kissio. Kissio checked. Puck comes out front to Walls. And his shot is blocked by McLean. Courtnall sprawls to grab the puck. He's trying to keep it in, and he succeeds. And now he and Linden go to the bench as Pat Quinn changes up his penalty killing foursome.
Well, McLean hasn't had a lot of work so far this period or in this hockey game. Only 10 shots so far, but what a huge save off of Walls close in. A broken play. McLean had to be sharp, and he was.
Babbage. Dump Reichel now at the line. Yanni back to Patrick. Reichel's shot is blocked by Babbage. Babbage blocks another shot before it gets to the net. It seems that number 44 is everywhere tonight.
Well, Vancouver is generating momentum from this penalty kill. Jelena with some big body checks. Babbage has been strong on this kill. Listen to the crowd if 1 minute and 46 expires without the Flames getting a goal.
Now it's Jelena flipping it down the ice, and he goes to the bench in the change. Fans reacting to the work of the penalty-killing unit. McIntyre lost it. Roberts with the shot. Rebound in front of the net, and McIntyre got back to pick it up. McIntyre received an award between periods as the hardest working Canuck. Hennigan did a neat job of hopping over a stick, but couldn't get a shot on goal. 1:12 remaining in the 5-minute major to Pavel Bure. McLean will try and clear, and it bounces past Zalapski and out.
Boy, great intensity in this game. Vancouver doing an outstanding job keeping the Flames off the mark.
Walls couldn't get it to Neuendijk, who was driving for the goal. Titov will try and set something up. 49 seconds left in the power play. Walls back to Zalapski. Over to McInnes. McInnes, a long shot, steered away by McLean. Titov looks to the point. Titov has it. A redirection by Walls at the side of the net, and a quick reaction by McLean. Titov out front. Nobody in the slot. seconds remaining in the penalty to Bure.
Well, Tim Hunter had snuck in to take the concentration of Nieuwendyk off of the slot area. Did a great job, and McIntyre watched McInnes.
Puck is centered. McLean is able to steer it away, but they can't get it out. Fleury back to McInnes. McInnes fakes the shot. Bure is back in the ice. And Bure is going to break away with McIntyre. Bure couldn't get it past Al McInnes. McIntyre was going for the net, but Bure couldn't get the puck to him. 8:32 remaining in the period. Here comes Roberts with Fleury. Every time he touches the puck, a chorus of boos erupts at the Pacific Coliseum. Now Ronnie fakes the shot, lets it go. Vernon has it in his pads, and he covers up with traffic at the side of the net. But this roar of approval is for the penalty killing of the Vancouver Canucks. They shut out the Flames during a 5-minute major to Bure. Jim, while we were away, the fans really roared their approval for the penalty killing of the Canucks. And I don't know whether this building has ever been as noisy as it has been several times this evening.
Well, things have sure changed in Vancouver. I think back to the early 80s. And until there was the towel waving and the run to the Stanley Cup Finals, a lot of quiet nights at the P&E. And a big game by Vancouver in the first game of this series, and guys like Babbage, Didick, and Merzen doing a yeoman's task on the point for Vancouver. All of a sudden, you've got a sold-out house, and you really have to listen to the guy beside you if you want to hear him speaking.
Puck is tied up along the boards, and after the fact, all the players on the ice get involved in some pushing and shoving along the boards, but it doesn't appear as though anybody is interested in dropping their gloves, and that instigator penalty certainly makes players think twice at playoff time about getting involved in fisticuffs. But Joel Otto is going to draw a minor penalty for the incident that took place along the boards following the face-off. I think it's safe to say he's less than pleased with that decision.
Well, both teams have had a fair amount to say to Andy Van Helmond when they've gone to the penalty box. It's tough when you have emotions that run at this level in a Stanley Cup playoff game. But if you can keep that in check, your chances of staying even are much better.
The tradition continues tomorrow night. Viewers in Quebec will see the game between the Habs and the Bruins, 8 o'clock Eastern. Patrick Waugh, 95% certain he will not be able to play in that game, while the rest of the country at 8:30 Eastern will see Game 3 between the Leafs and Hawks from the stadium.
Well, this is what drew the penalty. Joel Otto coming in, giving Ronnie a little shot. Some of the body checks have been dished out. No penalties called. And a little push like that. Kind of wonder.
Brown lets it go. That's high off the glass. Puck got up on edge on Brown, and the puck ricocheted off the glass. Now it's Fleury. Behind the net, a backhand shot, a weak one, picked off by Bure.
Well, Vancouver killed a 4-minute and 24-second major penalty to the Calgary Flames. Calgary's only had 2 shots on goal in this period, and the first one came at the 9:45 mark. That is great defense by the Vancouver Canucks.
The puck skips past Bure, and he has to race back after it. He thought he was going to be pressured, but the Flames were on a line change. Tried to center for Linden. Puck was deflected before it got to him. Into the slot, and Musil will clear. 1 minute remaining in the penalty to Joel Otto.
Well, Frank Musil shot the puck out alongside the boards. There was a bunch of traffic, and you say, geez, it's a low percentage play, but it's much better to put it in traffic on the boards. If it gets picked off, you're not giving him a great angle to shoot at.
Lume with a nifty move as he came in across the line to get a shot on goal. Craven for Bure, he has to race after it. At the line, Jelena is able to keep it in. Now
Babbage. A weak backhand shot. Broken up by the Flames, and Zalapsky flips it down the ice.
Well, Zalapsky and Patrick have been a formidable pair for the Calgary Flames. This team was 10-5-2 since the trade with Hartford. Those guys really move the puck well.
Babbage goes back to the net. Checked by Dahl. Craven keeps it in. His shot goes wide. At the other point, Lume looks for someone to give it to. Goes back to the net for Burway. It skipped away from him. Babbage pinches in at the other point. Keeps it in momentarily. Now Dahl starts away. The Flames are back at full strength. Dahl and Otto go to the line. And Otto drove for the net as Dahl attempted to flip it to him. Now Burway drops it for Lume. Lume is checked. Can't get a shot away. Cruz had Lume tied up, and Vernon grabs the loose puck. It's still scoreless with 5:45 remaining in the second period. What a difference a year has made for the Vancouver Canucks on home ice. Last year, they put together a tremendous streak of about 18 games on home ice and compiling a 27-11-4 record. This year, 19-19-3. They had more wins away from the Pacific Coliseum than they did here at home for the first time in franchise history.
Well, Vancouver scored 67 less goals overall last year. I'm sure that's part of the reason that they weren't quite as successful in their home rink.
You might be wondering about the 20th win that the Vancouver Canucks had. That was a neutral site game against Calgary in Saskatoon. Nieuwendyk for McInnes, and his howitzer sails wide. Cruz trying to work around Stern, who's running interference for him. The puck comes out front, and Cruz went to a backhand, and McLean was able to kick it out as Cruz walked out in front of the Vancouver goal.
Well, Pat Quinn has used this line very effectively, and Toski, Momesso, and McIntyre have really been able to either pick up the intensity of the game or change the momentum in the favor of the Canucks.
Ronning against Dahl, fires it to the corner. Walls goes in after it. For Otto, he's checked by Linden. Courtney winds up at the line. It's gloved by Vernon, and Vernon, with Ronning driving for the net, wisely decides to hold on.
Now Mike Vernon would like to have one goal over, and that was the shot that Jeff Brown put through him in game 2. But other than that, he says he's quite comfortable with the way he's played. Says that it's been a lot of strange bounces, and he feels that McLean would have the same comments. There haven't been any real tic-tac-toe plays close by. There were a couple in game 2. Nieuwendyk over to McInnes comes to mind. But it's been a tough series to goaltend because of the shots, where they've come from, and the number of deflections.
Those are the other scores. Dallas over St. Louis 5-4 in overtime for a 3-0 series lead. And it's still Detroit leading San Jose 2-0, and that series is tied at a game apiece. The other Western Conference quarterfinal resumes tomorrow night. Toronto at Chicago. And we'll have it for you on CBC television. It will be seen in most parts of the country, while Montreal, Boston will be seen in Quebec on Hockey Night in Canada. Bure steals. Bure threw a weak shot in front of the net. It's still loose in front of the goal. Bure picks it up and fires it wide. Ronning jams at it at the side of the net. Now Dahl starts away, and he fires it right on Kirk McLean, so there's no icing as Brown comes back. 3:34 remaining in the period. Brown rubbed out of the play by Yanni. The two of them go down. Craven attempted to center, and Vernon holds it. 3:25 remains in the period with another update. Again, here's Ken.
Pacific Coliseum in Vancouver isn't the only place they wave towels, Don, because it's also happening at the arena in San Jose, and they have very good reason to be happy because the Sharks are on the board second period. Alf Dolan will fight off a check from Mark Howe, get it out in front to Rob Goodrow, who scores in the power play, and the Sharks are on the board as he beats Osgood. It's now Detroit 2, San Jose 1, second period.
Jim, maybe there's something to this towel power. And if the Canucks win tonight, I think rather than just hand out 2,000 towels, every person attending the game on Sunday might get a towel on the way in.
Former Shark Kelly Kissio. You can't believe the roar that there is in the arena in San Jose. It's absolutely incredible. I was there for the last regular season game, and I couldn't hear myself think. Although that's not too difficult sometimes. In a playoff game, it would have to be pandemonium.
Here's a chance now for the Canucks. Ronning starts away with Adams trying to catch up. Over to Memesso in the slot for Lume. Lume jams away at the rebound with Vernon down. It went wide. Vernon has also lost his goal stick. Canucks may have been guilty there of overpassing as they came in on Mike Vernon. And now, as the play goes on in the corner, Patrick, realizing Vernon was without a stick, went back to the net and picked it up. Here's Merzen firing it wide. From the other point, Lume tried to go behind the net to Ronning. It was intercepted. And the Calgary Flames relieve the pressure. 2:28 remaining in the period. And here's Ronning moving in behind his back. Adams fanned on the shot. Back comes Reichel. For Roberts. Roberts tees it up. It's blocked before it gets to the goal. And Hunter breaks down the right side. Bodied there by Musso. McInnes over to McCarthy. McCarthy lets a long shot go. That is kicked out by McLean to Diddick, who takes it to safety back of the goal. 18-15. The Canucks with the edge in shots on goal. Neither side has been able to score a goal in this third game of the Western Conference quarterfinal. .130 now remaining in period 2. Brown fires it in. It bounces directly in front of the net, and Dahl went down to one knee to glove it to the corner. Here's Nieuwendyk breaking down the left side. He winds and fires wide. Dahl keeps the puck in the Vancouver zone. Dahl has it again. Lets a shot go with traffic in front of the net. It was high over top of the goal. Fleury works up from the corner. His shot goes wide. Dahl has it as we move into the final minute. Craven trying to check Nieuwendyk back to the net. Nieuwendyk goes down. He has the puck between his legs. It's freed for Fleury. Fleury attempted to center. It goes to the side boards. Zalapsky took a shot there from Jelena. Beyond the reach of Craven in the slot area. And now Hedeken skates it to safety. 30 seconds remaining in the period. Hedeken for Jelena. Jelena tried to leave it there for Bure, but it was checked away by Patrick. Jelena in the slot tried to spin around and let his shot go, then he was knocked down. Here's a pass for Fleury. Fleury's shot right on, and we have an injured Calgary Flame. Joel Otto is down with 2 seconds remaining. Cartman drops it off. Ronning's shot is high off the glass just as the horn sounds, but Otto is still down.
Good old-fashioned hockey. I talked to Ernie Punch McLean after the first period, and those were his words exactly. Vancouver fans know that name. Nieuwendyk very slow getting off. Otto in the same sort of fashion. Both players not wanting to give Vancouver an edge, so they want to come off under their own steam. Nieuwendyk, who missed 20 games with a severe knee injury, will that be a factor for period number 3? Boy, a very physical Vancouver game. And is it going to wear on the Calgary Flames? Otto nose-to-nose with Van Helmen.
Otto obviously upset that there was no penalty call But if he's not careful, if he says too much to Van Hellemond, he could wind up getting 10. Well, this could be a tough third period for the Calgary Flames if Joe Newendike is hurt and if Joel Otto is injured at all, because he has also limped off to the dressing room. In the second intermission, James Patrick, one of the newest Calgary Flames, will be joining Ken Daniels in our intermission studio. After 40 minutes of play here at the Pacific Coliseum, we're still in a scoreless hockey game.